So that hit home within the hour, in fact.
It's like, yeah, it worked. Holy shit, Dennis. It's been, I think we missed 3 weeks, so it's been like 4 weeks.
Yeah, what was there? Vacation, illness, I don't know what all.
I mean, for the record, I'm not feeling all that well today, but I fucking showed up.
Yeah, well, at least you can swallow.
Well, just barely. I mean, I sound like I sound like a sexy frog. But
when I opened my mouth and the nurses at the doctor's office, when I finally went into urgent care, opened my mouth and the nurse saw what I learned later looked like a pair of red raw monkey nuts hanging in the back of my throat. She said, "Oh my." And I said to her, I said, "Well, I'm not sure that's a very soothing response." And she said, "This is bad. I'm going to put you on immediate steroids, and if you're not better by the morning, you know, to go to the emergency room." Because I couldn't swallow without a really terrible pain all through my head, but particularly in my throat.
Jesus.
This thing was in the way and raw.
You got monkey balls in your throat.
But also, when I laid down, it felt like it was closing off my windpipe.
Ugh.
So I was, and I thought, and I Googled it, of course, and it said, you know, if it starts to affect your breathing,
yep,
you should probably go to the emergency room. And I'm like, well, that makes some sense. So anyway, I went into urgent care, not the emergency room. That made more sense. Waiting till the morning,
sure,
you know, and went in and they fixed me up. I took quadruple dose of steroids day 1, triple dose day 2, double dose, and then single dose.
That's why you're looking so buff. And, I can tell.
Yeah, and the 4 pill first day was within 18 hours. I was better. I was
medicine, baby. It's like
I'd been in bed for 2 days, not just because I was partly sore, but because I didn't want to move much. I thought originally I was coming down with a cold. A sore throat precedes a cold. Sure. So I started drinking fluids and getting rest, only to find out that I never got any cold symptoms by the second day. And I said, this is something else. And my wife said, I have an infection, so do you. And in fact, I knew that then. I waited one other day, felt good enough, felt like a Russian, felt good enough to go.
Good enough.
To go see Beetlejuice.
Oh.
Which is a story in and of itself. And had a beer and didn't, but.
Yeah.
And went. And before the middle of the movie, having my beer in my hand, the worst of it was back and worse. Couldn't swallow, real painful. Also could not hear out of my left ear. Hearing aids be damned.
Damn.
By the time I left the theater and told Nikki, I need to go to urgent care tomorrow. I'm really sick. And so since then, it's been an uphill or a kind of a downhill ride to get better. And plus, I've been doing consultant work, which if I could...
The whole uphill, downhill metaphor really sort of breaks down because...
At this point, it does,
because in theory, downhill is easy and uphill is hard.
Right. So it was a downhill recovery.
But if your health is going downhill, that's bad. So... It's like...
It's all in the application. And what is the subject? It's defined by its subject.
That's so true, man.
Subject
the roller
definitive.
coaster is defined by its subject.
What's the roller coaster what?
Because you're going uphill and downhill. And I imagine there was a loop-de-loop at one point with the monkey balls in your throat.
So anyway, that was one of the... cancellations. You had that was when you were on vacation, and you sent me a picture of
Not vacation. I travel for work to the Mediterranean beach where it's just gorgeous and amazing. Yeah. So one of the weeks I went to a country that I had never ever given much thought to, besides having met a couple of people from there over the course of my other tech conference travels. North Macedonia. North Macedonia is it's the country that it's former Yugoslavia. It's on the north border of Greece, and they had a big kerfuffle there because the northernmost state of Greece is called Macedonia, and the country across the border wanted to call themselves Macedonia, but there was a lot of back and forth. Like the Greeks were like, "No, man, Macedonia, we own Macedonia," blah blah blah, and in the UN they call it like the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, or like they have some ridiculous name.
And did you try the nuts?
They do not have no, they do not have macadamia nuts there. Those macadamia nuts are from Brazil. Although I was there with a Brazilian. So
and the Brazilian brought with him
macadamia, yes.
Macadamia nuts, and you did have some in Macedonia.
But the cool there's a couple interesting things about Macedonia. Their greatest their hero in all of history is a guy named Alexander the Great. He probably named himself that, but like he was the founder of Alexandria in Egypt, where they had the big library, and he studied under Aristotle, and so the Greeks sort of claim him, but he was really Macedonian, and there was a Macedonian empire that he sort of grew way back when. I don't know the dates.
Thus, he was great.
Yes, and
you say he named himself that.
Well, I imagine if you're the kind of guy that goes and slaughters people and then gives their troops all the spoils and all the wine and beer and conquered women, I imagine you're going to have a lot of yes men around you.
Yeah, but you know how that started? The guys who got the stuff said, "That Alexander, ain't he great?" And then they shorthanded it, and they said, "Alexander's great." And then
I mean, they need to really make Alexander great again, really.
Yeah. But so for too long, we'll go to the political deaths.
But yeah, let's stay away from the political deaths so far.
But anyway, here you are in Macedonia.
One of the. Are you familiar with the term the Gordian knot? It's a really hard problem to solve. There was in Greek myth there was this king of Gordia, we'll say, that had this crazy knot of rope, and he was like, whoever can untie this will be the next king, or whatever. One of those sort of King Arthur sort of nonsense myths. And people tried and they couldn't, and knots are hard to untie. And so the story goes that Alexander came up to it and like pulled out his sword and just like sliced it and cut it open, and instead of thinking like a nerd, he thought like a jock and sliced it open. And
a soldier.
Yeah. So there's that. So I had a nice time there. It's an interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Greece and Croatia, like they're neighbors, and it's sort of like southern Spain, but a little bit poorer. Like it's a fine place.
What about your digs? seem to have a good view of the sea.
So when I went to North Macedonia, first of all, there they use Cyrillic letters. It's not Latin letters, so it's sort of hard to read everything. It's like being in Greece, sort of, or Greece or Russia or whatever. Like, it's Cyrillic letters. And we were put up in a hotel that this was the first time the conference organizers ever really did a conference, and they put us up in this shitty hotel. The actual rooms were okay, but like I got to the place where the hotel was, and there was no lobby. Like, I walked in, on the sidewalk, sign says hotel here. I walk in, and I'm clearly at the basement floor of something. Like, there's stairs and an elevator. So I think, maybe the reception is on the next floor. So I walk up to the next floor, and nothing, just stairs, elevator. And at this point I'm like, maybe I need to enter on the other side of the building or something. Maybe this is like some back entrance.
Yeah.
And I go back out, and I'm walking around, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, are you with the conference?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I work for the hotel." "Yeah, you're in the right place. Let me take you up to the second floor where we have sort of a reception that you can sort of sign into, and we will give you a key." But like, it was super unprofessional as a hotel establishment, but it was fine. Like, the key locked the door, and we were.
And the room was okay though.
The room was fine. It's the only hotel room I've ever been in where you go through the door, bathroom is on the left, normal, and then there's 2 steps down to get to where the rest of the room is. And I was like, why would you build a hotel where there are first of all,
how do you know they built it? How do you know they built it as a hotel?
Well, maybe it wasn't, but you wouldn't build anything else like that. Like,
it could be that's where all the plumbing is.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like not good for accessibility, and Lord knows if you come in a little drunk, you might have some trouble.
Now we get to the.
It never happened to me, but I was just concerned about other people.
Oh, it did happen to you. You wouldn't have brought it up.
So,
it happened to you.
But anyway, it was a fine place, and I got to meet and hang out with one of my coworkers. Like, at my job, there's a woman that works at my job that lives in Skopje, North Macedonia, and we got to hang out, and she was friends with the conference organizers and with the local brewery people that were providing the beer for the conference. So let's just say fun was had.
Did you go to the brewery?
Didn't go to the brewery, but the speaker dinner before the conference was the beer people were there, and also at the end of the conference the beer people were there, as well as
speakers. How many participants?
There were speakers. There were probably like 30, and there must have been like 500 attendees.
Wow, so that's a lot.
Not too bad for being not in the middle of nowhere. And at the end of the conference, they hired who everyone told me was the most famous DJ in all of Macedonia. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But this guy, he must have been in his mid-50s, and apparently he's credited for like bringing hip hop to Macedonia back in the 80s. And he put on just the funkiest fucking shit. It was so good. The music that he put on was so good, and the artistry with which he blended the songs together, it gave me a respect for what it is to be a DJ as an artist, because you got your one track playing, and then you got your side headphone on, and then you're working on the other thing, and then you do the which switch over between, but like all these knobs, and like it was just watching him work was like watching Picasso paint. Like it was fucking amazing.
That sounds great. Then
And so anyway, that was awesome. And he was doing this.
that would be worth the price of.
He was doing this for a crowd of 5 of the nerds that were still hanging around, going, just doing some little
Really?
things. Like he could have been performing, and I think later that night he was for like
somewhere at a club or something.
for like an audience of 1,000 people that were just like, but like here he was doing the most amazing art. Like he didn't have to be so good, but he just loved his craft so much that he was just fucking killing it.
So you were at where were you at the place where you were drinking beer?
This was at an arts council sort of theater-y place where they had like 3 or 4 different like theater like places where we could give our talks in the center of the city somewhere.
And he was supposed to play?
No. He was paid by the organizers to come and set up his shit.
But you're saying there were only 5 people left?
There were only 5 of us that were there paying attention to him, while the rest were off talking about,
Where, in a big room?
No, outside.
And so it wasn't so loud that the people couldn't talk?
No. It was the other thing, great volume. Because sometimes you go to things like this and the volume is just so overwhelming that you can't even be close. But anyway, that was an amazing experience. And then I came back home for a couple of days, and then I went to another place.
What was the food like? What was the food like?
The food. So I went because I had my colleague that was there with her husband. They took me out a couple times to proper, like not in the city center. They drove me out somewhere to some little mom and pop's restaurant where we had the food there, and it was good. It reminded me of Greek cuisine. There's a lot of salads, and then we had one big pot of pork stew, sort of a thing, for the final course
that you shared.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And we
beef, you say?
What?
Beef?
I think it was pork, mostly pork.
Oh, pork.
And then we had there was a little. With our starter, we had a little sort of white brandy sort of a thing that we sipped. That was amazing.
Like Opa? Opa? What is it called?
Ouzo is the Greek stuff.
Ouzo,
similar to that.
Ouzo, right. Yeah.
But yeah, umba, yeah. It was sort of like that.
That's
but
what
it was
you
amazing.
yell when you drink it.
Yeah.
Oompa.
Yeah.
No. Ouzo. Yeah.
So that was fantastic. And she and I bonded a lot with talking about work and about our colleagues and stuff in the best possible way.
Yeah, that's great, man. Sounds like a real winner, in spite of your distaste for what you call unprofessional hotel entrance drama. It sounds like you did go to the wrong floor. It sounds like you should have gone into the ground floor, not the basement, or was the ground floor the basement floor?
That was the right place. And
no signage.
And the breakfast included with the hotel stay was
up the street.
Was that the hotel had deals with local restaurants that would open on days when they're normally closed in the mornings to like serve hotel guests.
But not included and pay the price and get up and walk in the rain.
Well, and it was they made the most enormous breakfasts. It was every single thing on the menu included 3 eggs. Either the omelets or the fried eggs and whatever, full Macedonian breakfast. So it was awesome. So that was
Sounds good
a
to
country
me.
that I had never thought about or considered ever going to, but I'm glad that I did. And the organizers were amazing, and met a lot of good people. So that's like why I do
I
this.
went I went to Texas Corners and bought some sausage.
Cool.
So that was my trip.
Texas Corners. Is that, do they have hats on there or not?
It's just a brewery, a meat market, a little school, a little downtown area. It's called Texas Corners, little village. I don't know why they call it Texas Corners. I'll bet you that the people who settled there originally were from Texas.
You think people immigrated from Texas to Michigan to settle?
Yep. Yep.
They were like, we got to get to a colder place, man.
I got to get to a place where it's different.
Yeah, it's cool.
Maybe they wanted to grow apples. Ain't growing apples in fucking Texas. Well, maybe in parts of Texas.
That's what I always say.
Texas awful big.
Can't
So
grow apples in Texas.
Speaking of Texas, I have, in my illness, I've reread 3 of the 4 parts of Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove series,
Okay.
which he published. Lonesome Dove won the Pulitzer, then wrote a prequel of when they first started out as Texas Rangers, and then third, the long-awaited follow-up to no, that's not true. Comanche Moon was also a prequel.
Okay.
And then the final one he published was Streets of Laredo, which is the 4th and final installment, which has lost most of the characters through death and murder and drownings and gunshots and a variety of things.
I find.
And it's the story of one of the characters, a survivor, in fact, in his old age, when he's still chasing bandits, but no longer as a Texas Ranger, but as a private bounty hunter. And it's interesting to reread it. I've read it a couple times already, but I love to do that. I don't have a great memory anyway, so when I read these books, it's like there's whole chapters that I don't really recall, but much I do. And I hadn't recalled, but then did, how the description he has of growing old is so accurate. It's just, subtle but increased stiffness and little aches that kind of don't go away, and what you do to try to fix it and what it means to you when you're thinking about it. McMurtry is a singular writer. I've read so many novels, and so many Pulitzer Prize novels, and I've never read anybody I enjoy reading more than him, particularly for his dialogue, which is just so absolutely real. And because it's so real, and it's set in Texas, where there's a certain way of people being, et cetera, as there is everywhere, it's got its own peculiarities. It is funny as hell. I'm reading hundreds and hundreds of pages with a smile on my face.
Nice.
So rereading it is always a pleasure. And plus, when I'm not feeling well, I don't want to think that hard.
Right. You don't want...
and
yeah.
It's sort of the equivalent of eating chicken and dumplings and chicken soup when you don't feel well.
Yep.
It's like the literary version of comfort food. And not brain candy, mind you. But this is, not brain candy, which is never particularly well written from my perspective. I don't like reading it, in fact. Detective novels and things of that nature, they're rarely written very well, in my view, from my perspective of what I like to read, which is characterization and, and the reality, the breathability of the characters.
So you mentioned Laredo, Texas. That is named after the town right next to where I live, Laredo, Spain.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
in the same way that everything in Texas and Mexico, or New England, let's be honest, has a sister city over in the old world
somewhere.
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
So that's kind of wild.
Well, so
Whenever I go into my local Laredo, they have a sign when you're coming in that says Laredo, and it reminds me that it's the only town I know of that where the syllables are musical notes. I can't sing Laredo because I don't know that scale, but one could.
Dear, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun,
Indeed.
me, a
That's
name
all I know.
I call myself.
Fa.
Fa, a long, long way to run. So
If you're in Boston,
a needle pulling thread.
where are you going? Fa.
Ray,
Drop of golden sun.
a treat with jam and bread.
No, close.
What's a treat with jam and bread?
That's
Ja. So
scone.
No.
Yes.
And then over again. We may. I'll do a blues version of that later.
Excellent. Good. That's what we need. So let's see. And then I went to another conference the next weekend. The one I always go to in Alicante, Spain, where it's so nice. It's the closest thing I have to what we used to have in Myrtle Beach, where every year you go and you meet the same people and nothing's changed between you. And it's just camaraderie all the way around. And
pick up where you left off.
And it's just amazing. And as you may recall from previous episodes, this is where I learned the magic of expensive whiskey. So this year we were able to go back to the same whiskey bar that we were at last time, and of course, none of the good stuff was on the menu, but my whiskey loving friend went up to the bar and took a photo with his phone, and came back and started like looking through all the things that he saw, and he was like, "Oh, there's an 18-year Macallan here. Let's." And so we asked what that was worth, and they were like, "That's going to be like $85 for like a little nothing," and we were like,
$85 for a shot?
For a shot, yeah. And we were like, yeah, all right.
A piece?
Yeah, for a shot. And so it was like, yeah, all right, let's pull it back. And so we ended up going for like $30 shots. And not shots, but like in a tumbler, but still you get nothing.
Less than a shot by what you're showing.
Well,
me.
I mean, it's in a wide tumbler. Like it's probably whatever a shot measurement is.
So this much liquid in a container that's 2 foot around is a quart.
And so, you think, oh shit, we just paid a bunch of money for this, but then you bring it to your face, and it's just like boom, like fireworks. Like this is it's so fucking good. And then you put it back down, and you haven't even touched the liquid inside it, and we literally took 2 hours to drink this little shot of nothing. But 2 hours of enjoyment, and you're talking to your friends, and you pick up your glass, and you give it a little sniff, and you put it back down, and then every once in a while you take a little sip of something, and then that's sort of an explosion in your brain as well. It's just kind of crazy that I'm not used to that drinking experience. I'm used to
chugging beers,
having a beer, and just being like, whoop, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even good wine can go down pretty quickly. But there's something about the whiskey that prevents you. You can't take it all.
The difference in these drinks is that you're drinking beer because you're thirsty. You're drinking wine because you're probably somewhat thirsty,
right,
but in an exquisite way. But you're not drinking scotch or bourbon or whatever liqueur because you're thirsty.
And we did go through several bottles of water, like Yes.
to clean your palate.
Well, and just out of thirst, but yes, yeah, you're not drinking out of thirst. And I don't know, it's a different beast. It's interesting.
I think the Talisker is the single malt that my
Talisker is amazing.
potential hope-to-be son-in-law bought me, along with two special Scotch glasses that are that, what's that special glass called?
Yeah, there's a special kind.
When you ring around the rim, it sings. Crystal.
Sure.
Cut crystal glasses. That set them back, the whole outfit set them back a couple $100. And that Talisker was exactly as you describe it, where when I took the cap off, all I had to do for the whole first episode was smell what was coming out of the bottle.
Yes.
And I describe it as people as an aroma that you could nearly see, like smoke.
How can a smell give so much pleasure? Is what blows my mind. Like it's just it's just nice.
So I don't want to forget this segue because I hadn't thought of it until just this moment.
Okay.
But what you said about the smell and remembering the smell, I happened to be clicking through looking for a movie and or a series or whatever, and came across a what's that actor's name? Eisenborn. Drawing a blank on his first name.
Jesse?
Jesse, yes, Eisenberg, who actually got good selections for movies. I enjoy him a lot. And because he was in it, I said, well, what's this about? And the name of it was Sasquatch Sunset. And it was about a little tribe, a family of Sasquatches in the northwest of the United States. And it was just a documentary type look at these gifted actors in these amazing, makeup, who were living the life of Sasquatches into the Northwest, and eventually, in their nomadic way, which they're nomadic, they came across civilization and running out of space. And I never did finish it because it was too weird.
Whoa. So I have strangely confirmed that you are not making this up. There is a 2024 R-rated movie called Sasquatch Sunset.
Do you know why it's R-rated?
Well, I imagine the Sasquatches get naked.
They stay naked, but there's plenty of copulation. But here's the thing: is that some of it is so weird and bizarre that I actually said, I don't know that I want to watch this. I'm going to go to bed soon. I don't want to go to bed with this thought. But hold on. You said that these are people that are actors dressed in Sasquatch uniforms. Well, they're not uniforms.
Well, for costumes, but
no, it's not costumes.
But it's not.
It's some of the most expert makeup I've ever seen.
Okay, but
these actors are in fact, yes.
Okay, but is it in the realm of the movie? Are they real Sasquatches?
Are they?
I'm sorry, what
real
their gender
Sasquatches?
is? Yes,
they're portraying Sasquatches. Yes.
So in the movie, we know that these are humans portraying Sasquatch,
as opposed to what exactly?
It could be a movie. I've seen Harry and the Hendersons.
They captured Sasquatches and taught them how to act.
Well, I've seen Harry and the Hendersons. Like that's a like there are movies where the premise is that these people are real, but in this, the premise is that they are actors in suits.
No, not at all. This is a movie that the premise is you are watching real family of Sasquatches live in the Northwest.
Okay.
And of course, that what you're looking at are actors.
I know that there's not real aliens.
Incredible makeup because when you open the movie, it tells you who's starring, including an unrecognizable Jesse Eisenberg and others.
Okay.
And when you watch it, which you should do,
Which I have to now.
It's once in a lifetime. I want you to remember that the reason that I raised it was because of the issue of smelling and smells.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about it again.
Yeah, the animal kingdom has such a rich depth of reality around smell that we just don't have, especially me in my current condition.
It is, I don't know, and plus all in the animal world, so many of the senses are extraordinarily magnified.
Right, exactly. The prey and the predators, for obvious reasons.
And not to mention strength.
Yes.
Which is not a.
Whenever I come back into my office apartment for after lunch, my cat really wants me to like breathe into his face so he can smell everything that I've had for lunch.
He would have liked my breath today. I ate a can of tuna fish with mayo.
Fishy.
I was so hungry and lazy that I didn't do what I usually do, is just chop up like little tiny onions and chop up little tiny celeries and chop up little tiny olives and then mix it up and salt and pepper and garlic and I said, fuck it. Can in a bowl, 2 dollops of mayo.
Can in a bowl, baby.
Salt, mix it up. Saltine crackers, lunch.
Protein, baby.
Lunch.
So should we? Well, wherever you want to pivot to. We got.
Let's go to the entertainment desk.
Okay.
I did see Beetlejuice. 36 years after.
Jesus.
The first one.
Yep.
And
that's a Halloween movie, but I guess we're already more or less in October, so sure.
It almost came out to the day 36 years ago, in fact. And some of the same actors in it, and including, of course, Michael Keaton Douglas, who hasn't lost a bit of his hilarity. And notwithstanding the screen, the script and the screenplays, et cetera, that produce everything he says and does to a certain extent, his delivery is just so unique, and it's hilarious. Now, I had a problem.
Like if they ever tried to cast Jesse Eisenberg as Beetlejuice, it would just be like, nope.
Well, here's an interesting thing that I did not know. Catherine O'Hara.
Yes.
Who is a character is in this in a big way.
In lots of things.
When we came home, the three of us came home, the next night we watched the original Beetlejuice.
Nice.
And
how fucked up is that ending? Did you watch all the way to the end?
Beetlejuice?
Of the original Beetlejuice?
Why? When she was dancing?
When
strung up in the air?
Yeah, like that was so fucking cocaine shit. Like
it's Tim Burton.
It's Tim Burton, but what the... Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
It was her reward for getting a good grade in school. But this one picks up where it left off. And what I didn't realize was that Angelica Houston was already cast to be in her role, to be in the mother's role, and she got sick. And at the last minute, they asked Catherine O'Hara to do it. And you betcha. And what was so striking about it, and of course, everyone's youth 36 years ago was striking.
Well, of course.
But none more so than her. When the movie was over, when the second was over, I said, well, how old is she now? Well, how old do you think? And I said, in her 80s, 80, 81, 82. She's 70. And I said, God, don't tell her I said she looked 81. But she does look very, very old. In the original, she was 36 years old. because she's now 72.
Right.
Or
Playing
34
playing the
years. She was
mother
34 years.
of a 17-year-old. Sure.
No, stepmother.
Oh, step. Okay, sure.
Stepmother. And Winona Ryder, whose age is not known in the movie, I think, but she was 16,
Right.
because she's now 52. And so you could figure out how old they were just on that. But so it was great. I could not hear much of the dialogue in the first quarter or even third of the movie, partly because of my hearing problems, but also, my hearing challenges include certain pitches of voices
Right.
being almost impossible to hear. And it's just certain pitches. Some of the actors' pitches did not give me trouble, and I could hear everything they said. But a couple of them, including Catherine O'Hara's, I couldn't hear them, even though I turned my hearing aids up, etc. And in hindsight, I did have probably a bum left ear because of my infection. But nonetheless, I just enjoyed it, tremendously. And of course, I'm now looking forward to seeing it on TV so I can read the words.
Yeah. What a like, even I, who can hear pretty well still, when I'm at this cinema, I miss the subtitles, because when I'm watching something on streaming or whatever, I have the subtitles on, and it's just, yeah, it.
What's interesting to me about the subtitles is that I can hear what they're saying when they're there. They help define the sound for me. So I no longer have the problem of not being able to understand them, which is me being able to listen and read at the same time.
Right.
Which actually isn't true, because my eyes are darting up and down for the entire 2 hours. You can't really see it all at once, kind of thing. So anyway, that was my and the singing in it. There's this whole stuff that's going on post release, and it turned in $500 million in the first weekend on a $290 million budget, and is getting rave reviews by most others who are the skeptics and blah blah blah. And they don't understand the fun of it. I don't know what the fuck.
Look, a cult classic is what it is, and I cannot begrudge someone for cashing in on that. Like, sorry.
Well, yeah, and I don't believe it was as much cashing in on it, because you don't know that's going to happen. But what you want to do is you want your creative juices that are flowing in that direction to take hold, so that you can, as Tim Burton does, create this masterful presentation of reality. And it is so hilarious. You've not seen it, correct?
No.
Right. So I won't do much spoiling, but know that the musical content is some of the most bizarre and wonderful I've seen in decades.
Nice.
And particularly Michael Keaton Douglas and the way that he portrays that music.
Talking about subtitles, I was reminded of a thing I was just watching that we have to talk about, where I found it easier to turn off the subtitles because they spoke so well to my ear. And that is a show called The Old Man.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen all three?
I have seen at least two.
Two
Two
came out on the first day.
Yeah. So no, the third one isn't out yet till the 29th.
Third one.
No. That's the Penguin. I'm sorry. I've seen. That's the Penguin.
Third one. Third one came out.
Yes.
Last Thursday.
Right. So I've recorded it, which means that I can speed through the commercials, and so it's much more enjoyable. I have some opinions to share, but I'd like you to go first.
Of course you would. Both of the first episodes, and to be honest, the third episode ends with a cliffhanger gunshot where you're not sure who just got shot, et cetera, et cetera. And it's I could do a lot more with what happened in the first episode of just the banter between the Lithgow Daniels characters. Like, I love their relationship. I want to just watch a show of them trying to get shit done in the FBI or whatever. Like, that would be hilarious. And then but I also kind of like the portrayal of the Afghan village. Some of those people are really amazingly beautiful. Like the old lady, who I guess it's not his wife, but who is the matriarch of the village. She's pretty amazing.
Hassan's,
I guess wife, but like she's
one of his wives, maybe. Right.
And
well, her firing in one episode, her pulling out a pistol and killing assailant that was injuring her grandson,
right,
or I think, was one of the most memorable scenes of her that I thought was some incredible stuff. You knew she was strong. You didn't know that she was that skilled.
And I've heard episodes with Jeff Daniels about Jeff Daniels? No. Damn it, who's the actor? Jeff Bridges. I've heard interviews with him where he talks about how just nothing but praise for the showrunners and the authors and stuff, and how coming up with this is kind of amazing. And he's already obviously shot this season and is excited that it could go on for another season. But it's I don't know. There are times where I'm like, come on, let's get on with the action. I don't know.
Well, so that's an opening for me to say. I think some of it has become cheesy. And the dialogue, while I cherish every moment that Lithgow and Bridges are on the screen together.
Yes.
Because they are two of my favorite actors and they're incredible. It's disappointing when the dialogue that they're given doesn't quite fit.
Yes.
And there's a scene when they were leaving the cave with his arm wounded, when one moment he looks like he's dying and the next moment he's on a horse and he's riding, and then later he gets off the horse. It's like, wait a minute, I thought he was dying and he really was just wounded.
Okay, that was the third episode, wounded. So you're up to where I am.
Okay. Where the dialogue about Emily is just cheesy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit the scene. They're on horseback in Afghanistan, riding over the mountains, and they're talking about her. And so that's number one. Number two is this.
And she's got these three father figures there.
What I just said is number two. Is this. I'm still now more than ever in the first episode, which I wondered about it. Now more than ever, I'm really wanting to understand more about the backstory. Whereas we haven't seen any of it, in my recollection, of how it was that Emily became and why she became an agent and rose through the ranks to be the number 2
Yep.
of the guy who her dad ran with. Was that something that Dad manipulated?
Feels like yes.
Or there's no, that sounds too far-fetched for the relationship that he purports to have. I don't know that he would bring her in. It almost is like in the first first series, that it's like an assumption that you really don't need to know. But now that we're so much in the past and bringing it around to full circle, where she is now reintroduced to her home and her real father, I found some of her dialogue to be a little cheesy, but I also have had a difficult time in both series, now more pronounced in the second year, of this particular actress carrying that role. And I don't know that it's a fair opinion on my part at all, because I think she's objectively probably doing a really, really great job. But there's something about her golly gee whiz American looks, and her freckled Leave It to Beaver type face.
Yeah, you hate to criticize someone for having so many freaking freckles.
Well, the freckles make sense in the context of that may be how someone of that lineage might otherwise look if they're not dark like their father, or light.
Maybe.
Like
are there many Afghani freckled people? I don't know.
I think there might be, but anyway,
I think she's doing a really. There were a lot of close-ups on her where she needed to not necessarily quiver her lip or whatever, but like it was clear that she was emoting in a way that we pay actors to. I don't know. I like her, but she's there with all these like giants of the industry, and it's just like,
well, true. Now I will wrap all this up by saying that I did have a problem with my my transcripts, my scripts, or the words showing on the bottom of the screen. They were jumbly and just all letters. And because I couldn't watch it loud because of people sleep in the house, I had to postpone the second episode quite a bit. But I also wasn't in a great hurry to see number 3 because I was kind of disappointed in the way that it had gone. And because if I'm questioning the premise, it becomes irritating, like sand in my shoe. You know what I'm saying? Where I wonder so much about this backstory that if you don't appreciate that, I think, in a way that's a little bit more informed, I'm not sure you can fully appreciate what's going on in this new series, particularly the third episode when she's reintroduced in her homeland, and now she's in Afghanistan.
Right.
And we'll see where it goes. There were scenes with her in it where the costuming made her look like a fucking clown, like a kind of buffoon, kind of, I don't know what. And I'm not trying to body shame her. I'm talking about her costume.
Okay. It just
wasn't agreeable, to you. And when if you ever look back at the scenes when she gets off her horse and she's standing by her horse, and they approach the scene of
all the costumes seem kind of weird to me, because to me it feels like they're in a desert, but then they're all really well covered up for the cold. But like I assume that
well, deserts are cold,
right?
Deserts are ice cold,
but yeah,
but not in the day.
Well, right, exactly. Like that's I had those thoughts as well.
Costuming around wind protection,
right?
Sand and wind protection, scarves and hoods and whatnot. Which in fact, when you see the costume that they put her in, she not only had on what looked like local garb, but also the strange looking, looked like a down vest.
Yeah, there was a vest. Yeah.
Like a orangish brownish down vest that was like, why are you dressed like that? I mean, they could have, like the Hassan's wife,
right?
The matriarch, her costume was elegant,
perfect,
flowing and elegant. Why did they go to such lengths for?
Because they want to make her look. They want to make her look different. They want to make her look weird.
Well, unkempt hair, a hat that doesn't fit right, a coat that isn't work, real big baggy clothes. I mean, did they want us to feel like she was a stranger in a strange land to that extent?
We are a simple people as viewers, but I do want to.
Oh,
wait, hold on. I do want to say how amazing the villain guy was with the eye patch and the scar. I don't know if you have time, but are you aware of why scars on your cheek are super cool and badass?
No.
Because there was this tradition in Germany before World War, but I don't know, between the World Wars, where they would do this thing where they, as like college students, they would have like these duels, and you would try and like swipe your dagger across the face of your enemy, and so it made it
fun. That sounds like fun,
right?
When you like,
but it made it so that people that ended up with a little scar across their cheek were seen as brave and having done this stupid masculine thing. But like that was like appealing to German women, because oh wow, you fight for whatever.
Well, we'll have to save the political.
Oh God, the political desk. Okay,
for next week, because it's amazing. But I'll leave you this. Someone left the cake out in the rain, and I can see it. That's not it.
God damn it.
I've got it wrong.
Cut.
Someone left the cake out in the rain. I don't think that I can take it, 'cause it took too long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again.
Can't shake it.
Oh, no. You know who sang that? Richard Harris, the actor.
Richard Harris. Okay. He's leaving. Bye. Okay, that's it for episode number 231. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/231, where there are links to the movies we discussed, the countries, the novels, and even German dueling scars. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. We would very much appreciate that. And hopefully we won't take so long between episodes. See you next week, maybe.